Hello, everyone. Ex Bethelite here. 937-789-4029. I think one of the problems with regards to friendships, friendship building, and social life in general with regards to Jehovah's Witnesses is that those friendships aren't built based off individuals. It's more built based off of, you attend that particular congregation. And let me clarify this a little bit more. You have everyone reading the same thing at the same time, essentially, before going to a specific meeting. The reading material is the same. Everybody spent time, generally, researching or looking over some materials, all at the same time, different halls, different places. Why is that? Why is that? A person that is not told what to study specifically all the time is not at a disadvantage because there's plenty to study. The person can start with their prayer and their Bible reading, and from there build off of whatever the sermon was for that particular Sunday, whatever Sunday school was about. But those are things that could really spark their interest, and they could go into a number of different Bible study topics that they pick. They don't have to be told what to study. And I think that one thing that that it does is it kind of takes away from individualistic thinking. You want everyone to go into that Kingdom Hall thinking the exact same thing, having studied the exact same Bible reading. It's a schedule. Having studied the exact same Watchtower. And if they have not studied those specific things, they could have be a Bible scholar and could have studied studied all week. But if they did not study those specific things Watchtower wants them to study at that specific time, there's shaming involved. You can't just go to a Kingdom Hall and say, that Watchtower article, not really that interesting. I went and studied this instead. It's not that you didn't do any Bible study. It's not that you don't love God. You just study something different. You go in there and you say that, and what? You're not following the direction, or something to that effect. Kind of the end of the world type of a thing. It's too shallow. The friendships, it's too shallow. Going up to someone and talking to them with, kind of as a conversation starter, having read the exact same thing at the exact same time. That may be okay in some instances, but not all the time. You end up with a lot of shallow interactions with people. You're going up and you're talking to them. Oh, hey, how are you? Oh, I'm fine. How was such and such doing? They're fine. What did you think about this part in the meeting? Or who's carrying this microphone? Or who's giving the talk? Who's being sent out to give the talk next Sunday? How was field service? How many Bible studies do you have? How many pioneers are here? That's very shallow with regards to fire truck behind me. Interactions and building friendships. I think that's why a lot of people don't really have good friends, and they don't find that out until something happens where a person leaves from one state and goes to another state, and they're not going to that same Kingdom Hall, of course, and then they just stop hearing from people. Those friendships weren't built off of who you are as an individual. If that's what those friendships were built off of, then those friendships could last regardless of where you went. Physically, you could move, whatever the case may be. Those friendships would all still be there. You would all still be talking on the phone, all kinds of different things like that. But if those friendships were built off of really shallow things, there's nothing wrong with Bible reading or anything of that sort. But with regards to friendships, it has to go a little bit further than everyone had the same Bible reading this week and everyone had the same Bible articles to read, same presentations and things of that sort for field service. Very uniform discussion topics, at the hall. Basically, man, this system, ain't that system something? We can't, we just need that new system. I mean, that can't be all of your discussion. All your discussion can't all be uniform. Where you have to do no thinking whatsoever when you're having a discussion with somebody. You just repeat stuff. I know people who, I was raised in Dayton, and a lot of people leave Dayton and go to bigger cities. And when that happens, I've run across people on Facebook, and man, who do you still talk to? Have you spoken to anybody? Not that this was on my mind when I was asking them that. And a lot of times the answer is no. They don't know who's where, or they lost contact with everybody when they moved, and no one is keeping up with them, and no one is. This is a big deal when you have spent years at a particular congregation, because it takes you by surprise. You do not know that this can occur until you're in a situation where you experience it. And then you have to ask the reason why. Why is it that I moved to another city and a lot of people didn't stop keeping up with me after that? Or I hadn't been to the Kingdom Hall in a little while because of work or being sick or whatever the case may be, and you just immediately stop hearing from people because those relationships were shallow. They weren't deep, in other words. They were only as deep as whatever was the last Watchtower article, or whatever is the general J.W. Reddick that is discussed at the hall. Oh man, did you hear? There was bad things on the news. Man, this system is something else. Can't be too long now. End of the world right around the corner. That's not deep friendship building material. And I understand that when a person visits a Kingdom Hall and they see people, they see them talking. Pay attention to what they're talking about. They may just see them talking. Pay attention to what they're talking about. Is their discussion revealing a deep friendship with the person that they're talking to, or a deep knowledge of the interactions with the person that they're talking to. They even know where the person works. That's kind of a basic thing when you're friends with someone. You know where they work. You may know what trades they've been into. Just general things. These people that you see talking, do they know any of this stuff? And this is a question. This is something for you to explore on your own. I know from my experience that a lot of the discussion that people have is surrounding similar, uniform directives that Watchtower has given, or repetitive things that they have heard in the organization said over and over and over again. Now, let's get into what I think goes on in a lot of churches. For a person that was raised around Jehovah's Witnesses and just see people talking to everyone, it may be extremely shallow, but they're talking to everyone, and then they go to a church and they may falsely assume that church that they're attending isn't warm, because you may not see everyone walking around talking to everyone, and then again, you may see that. However, you have a different structure in a lot of churches. The Sunday service, you'll have people talking after the service and things of that sort, but some of these churches are 5 times the size of a Kingdom Hall. They're 5 times the size of a Kingdom Hall, and people do more socializing at some of the ministries at that church. For example, I visit Shiloh Baptist Church, and Shiloh Baptist Church is about as big as a circuit assembly, and got to know fairly well the people that I did speak to. The people that I spoke to, it wasn't about church rhetoric. It was about you. What's your name? How are you? What are you into? You know what I mean? Learning about the person. That's what it was based off of. And outside of that, I met people in different activities, such as choir rehearsals. You meet people that way. And then they have youth activities. So you meet some of the youth, and then you meet some of the people that are involved in organizing the activities that way. You have meals prepared. Well, you meet some of the people while you're helping them preparing the meals. You meet people. A lot of the social interaction isn't only before and after the Sunday service. So in order for you to judge social interactions at a church, you would have to be present when those interactions are taking place. Keep in mind, the JWs, they do all that interacting before and after a meeting, and they don't have no other time to do it. They don't have nothing else going on. Church may have who knows how many ministries, who knows what all is going on, and people are busy, before church, after church, they may have all kinds of things that they're involved with and they're doing. Not just standing there talking, but they may have to understandably be somewhere because they have different ministries that they're involved in, classes that they're teaching. This particular church that I visit was huge, and it had all kinds of different classrooms with all kinds of different classes going on at a specific time. So before and after service, everyone wasn't even always available for that type of interaction. But that interaction was welcome at all the different functions. Christian Life Center, I believe, is another church that is probably bigger than Shiloh. I don't know for sure, but it's probably bigger than Shiloh. I think the facility is bigger. And what they had, now granted, you can go to church and just strike up conversation with people there, but what they would have is different classes on different topics, and you would attend a class on a topic that you found interesting in a smaller group, and in that smaller group, the class was interactive, and you would begin to interact with people and talk and have social interaction that way. And I was floored when I went to go visit a church. They had this really, really big movie screen projector and movie screen up, and on that was door-to-door ministry. I kid you not. You would be surprised. There are some witnesses, Jehovah's Witnesses, that judge churches having not been to one in forever, or maybe having not really attended one at all, or having only attended one. You would be surprised. I was floored. I'm standing there visiting this church, and people were super friendly at this specific church. There was someone that walked up, introduced themselves, and invited me to come and sit with them. There were several people that came and introduced themselves. And then also too, afterwards, they're talking about people that were organizing different ministries, and one was door to door. And I'm like, other people don't go door to door, and it's right there in my face. Obviously, they do go door to door. The format is just different, and the format allows for freedom of choice. Everyone didn't have to pick a specific ministry. I don't believe that everyone there had to pick door to door in specific. They were involved in the ministry of their choice. With Jehovah's Witnesses, it's more controlled. You're involved with door to door. That's it. That's the only ministry we have going on. There's no outreach. There's no anything going on for the community. There's nothing else but door to door, and this schedule of what to study, when to study it, and when you come to the hall, other than when you're younger. When I was younger, I talked about basketball, whatever. But in general, your adults are at the hall, talk about the same stuff over and over again. This system of things, or things that are very not personal, very impersonal. That to me is not really that difficult to do. It doesn't require much effort at all, and it's obviously not necessarily warm because deep friendships are not made. If I had a dime for every person that I've spoken to that wasn't even close to their family. Forget friends. Forget people at the hall. They're not even close to their mom and dad. Forget about this whole concept that, you know, this is a really close network of people and all that, and sort is you have to take it with a grain of salt. Granted, you're only allowed to fellowship supposedly with a certain group of people, but that fellowship itself is very, very shallow, and there ain't a whole lot of activities. We maybe had a picnic once a year, and it wasn't even every year, and that was it. You know what I mean? Anything else you want to do, you on your own. You know, the congregations aren't sponsoring any social anything. You know, they just don't do nothing other than robotic, same routine, robotic, same conversations. And that sometimes is why anyone coming in that's not uniform with what everyone else is saying and what everyone else is doing, and is not uniform with what everybody else just studied, and is not uniform with how everybody else comments and how long you're supposed to comment, and is not uniform with going door to door, and you just got to be careful what you say, because it's got to be uniform with what everybody else is doing and what everyone else is saying. That's where you run into this whole crazy apostate scare and all this other stuff of that sort, because you can have a person that starts becoming shunned. That's a strong word, but they can start becoming shunned and just assumed to be an apostate just because they're dancing to the beat of a little bit of a different drum. They're not doing the exact same thing, talking about the exact same thing at the exact same time as everybody else. Why is that even important? Why do you have to? Why is that even important? I can go to a church. It's Saturday right now. I go to a church tomorrow, Sunday. Walk up to somebody. Man, that was a good service. My name is Marcus. What's your name? Oh, my name is such and such. Oh, okay. Well, you know, nice to meet you. It's my first time here. You know, and just start a regular conversation. We wouldn't have had to have read the exact same chapter in the Bible at the exact same, in the exact same week. We could just start a regular conversation, and in that way, maybe actually become friends. So that if we do exchange numbers and, begin to socialize, if I decide to move to a different area, move to Washington or something, I may still have a friend. You know, it wasn't based off just me being at that particular hall and just repeating a bunch of stuff to everyone. You know, that's just a question that just bothers me, is why does everybody have to be uniform? You know, if you're not a Star Trek person, you don't know what the Borg is, but the Borg was basically one mind, one brain controlling everybody. A bunch of people with no identity, personal identity as to who they actually are and what have you. And I just see, not to that extreme, but I see something similar. And that I've got relatives, man, and I'll talk to them about people from the hall that don't go to their specific congregation. And you could tell by talking to them, they ain't talked to that person in forever. And they may have been to the same, when they were going to the same hall, they were talking all the time. They would hang out. They would go golfing. But now that they're not going to the same Kingdom Hall, you talk to them about that specific person, and they kind of reveal that they don't talk to them no more. That's not warmth. That's not fellowship. That's not an actual friend. So you guys let me know, do you think it's important for people in any particular religion to all be uniform, and I'm talking to the extreme of you have the same Bible chapter that you have to read that week, the same Bible articles that you have to read that week, the same door-to-door presentation that you got to get ready for that week, the same, everything that you have to do, just like everyone else. Again, 937-789-4029, ex-Wallkill Bethelite, signing out.